Have you ever walked into a room full of people and instantly felt out of place, like you don't quite belong? Maybe it's not just about being shy or introverted. Perhaps it's something deeper. Maybe you've always felt like your journey is different, unique in ways that others can't quite understand. If this resonates with you, know that you're not alone. There's a reason why so many chosen ones experience this sense of not fitting in. It's not because you're antisocial, flawed, or inadequate. Quite the opposite. It's because you've been set apart for something extraordinary. Being chosen means your perspective and experiences will often stand apart from the norm. And while this unique calling is a gift, it can sometimes feel isolating. You might find yourself wondering why you don't see the world the way others do, or why certain environments drain you while they energize others. But this feeling of otherness is an essential part of your divine purpose. Today, let's uncover the truth behind these feelings. Together, we'll explore the psychological, spiritual, and social dimensions of being set apart. By the end, you'll not only understand these differences, but also embrace them as an integral part of your journey. One of the hallmarks of being chosen is heightened sensitivity. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by loud noises, bright lights, or the chaotic energy of a crowded room, it's not all in your head. Your sensitivity is real, and it's a reflection of your spiritual awareness. Being attuned to the spiritual realm often means your senses, both physical and spiritual, are heightened. Everyday settings that feel ordinary to others might seem overwhelming to you. For instance, walking into a bustling store or attending a large gathering might feel like stepping into a whirlwind of sensations, pulling your attention in 100 different directions. This heightened sensitivity isn't a weakness, it's a divine gift. It allows you to perceive subtle truths, hear the gentle whispers of God, and sense things others might overlook. But with this gift comes the need for balance. You weren't designed to thrive in constant noise and chaos. Like Jesus, who often withdrew from the crowds to pray and recharge, you also need moments of solitude to stay spiritually aligned. Your time alone isn't about avoidance, it's about connection. It's where you create space for God to speak, to find clarity and renewal for the path ahead. Think about how Jesus embraced solitude as part of his journey. In those quiet moments, he sought his Father's guidance, gaining strength for his mission. Similarly, your moments of solitude are where your spirit finds its grounding. When you step away from the noise, you're not withdrawing from the world. You're stepping into alignment with God's purpose for your life. In these sacred spaces, you recharge, reflect, and prepare for the next steps in your journey. Another important aspect of being set apart is how you replenish your energy. If you feel most at peace in solitude rather than in a crowd, this isn't just about personality, it's about your spiritual path. The journey of a chosen one requires deep reflection, prayer, and stillness. It's in those quiet moments that you connect with God most profoundly, gaining insight and clarity about your purpose. Large groups and busy environments can momentarily pull you away from this connection, making it harder to hear God's voice or feel His presence. That's why it's so important to honor your need for quiet reflection. So, if you've ever questioned why you're so sensitive to the world, or why solitude feels essential to you, know this: it's part of God's design. You were created to be different, to walk a path less traveled but filled with divine purpose. Your sensitivity, your need for stillness, and your longing for something more aren't flaws, they're strengths. Embrace them. Lean into the unique rhythm of your journey, knowing that every step is leading you closer to God's plan for your life. You're not just different, you're chosen. And in that truth lies your greatest strength. Have you ever felt the need to step away from the crowd, seeking solitude to realign with your true self? As a chosen one, this isn't just a fleeting urge. It's a vital part of your spiritual journey. Taking time alone isn't merely acceptable, it's necessary. It's how you maintain your connection to God, recharge your spirit, and stay anchored in your purpose. Let's take a moment to reflect on the biblical example of solitude and its importance in the life of Jesus. Luke 5:16 reminds us, "But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed." Even though he was surrounded by crowds eager for his teachings, healings, and miracles, Jesus consistently prioritized moments of solitude with his Father. This wasn't a one-time occurrence. It was a regular practice, an essential rhythm of his life. He understood that to remain spiritually strong and focused on his divine mission, he needed those quiet moments to find strength, clarity, and peace. As a chosen one, you are called to follow this same pattern. Your spiritual journey demands moments of stillness where you can truly hear God's voice. These aren't times of avoidance or isolation, they're times of preparation and alignment. In stepping away from life's busyness, you create space for God to renew your strength and guide your steps. Each moment of solitude becomes an opportunity to deepen your connection with Him, just as Jesus did. One of the most profound aspects of being chosen is the unique, intimate relationship you have with God. It's not limited to a Sunday sermon or a specific prayer time. It's a continuous presence in your life. God's guidance shapes your thoughts, your choices, and your path. But maintaining this connection often requires a level of focus and quiet that is hard to find amidst the noise of daily life. Have you noticed how difficult it can be to hear God's gentle whispers in a crowded or chaotic environment? This isn't a coincidence. Your spirit thrives in calm, peaceful spaces where distractions fade and God's voice becomes clear. When you take intentional time to step away from the noise, you're not just resting, you're inviting God to speak to you, to fill your heart with His presence, and to reveal His will for your life. These moments of solitude are not about withdrawing from others. They're about prioritizing your relationship with God. Large gatherings or busy environments can sometimes pull you away from this connection, and that's okay. It's a sign that your spirit is attuned to something higher, something far beyond the superficial hustle of the world. Your need for stillness is a reflection of your deep desire to remain close to God. Think of these quiet times as a way to recharge your spiritual batteries. Just as your phone needs to be plugged in to regain its power, your soul needs regular connection with God to stay vibrant and strong. By creating space for reflection, prayer, and listening, you ensure that you're aligned with His purpose and direction. So, embrace these moments of solitude. Let them be times to listen, reflect, and draw closer to God. Use them to fortify your spirit, align your life with His plan, and find the strength to carry out your unique calling. These quiet moments aren't just beneficial, they're essential. As a chosen one, they are the foundation of your journey, the space where God's purpose is made clear and His love flows most deeply into your life. Chosen ones are often called to lead, whether by guiding others spiritually, offering wisdom and support, or simply being a source of light in a world filled with darkness. Leadership, especially in a spiritual sense, is more than just making decisions or managing people. It's about carrying the weight of others' expectations, their struggles, and their hopes. Those around you might sense your connection to God, your depth, and your strength, which naturally draws them to seek your guidance and comfort. While this is a profound honor, it can also feel deeply exhausting. Consider the story of Moses, chosen by God to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, a task monumental in both scope and responsibility. He not only had to guide an entire nation through trials and uncertainties, but also bore the weight of their fears, complaints, and doubts. Despite his incredible calling, Moses understood the necessity of stepping away from the crowd to find solace in God. The Bible tells us that Moses often retreated to the tent of meeting, a sacred space where he could speak with God face to face. It was in these moments of solitude that he found the strength, wisdom, and clarity to continue his mission. This example is a powerful reminder for all chosen leaders. Just as Moses needed moments alone with God to carry out his divine task, so do you. Leadership is demanding, and it's easy to become consumed by the needs of others, especially when your role involves constant giving, whether through emotional support, spiritual guidance, or simply being present as a listener. Over time, these responsibilities can drain you, leaving you feeling overwhelmed or depleted. That's why it's crucial to recognize the importance of self-care, not as an indulgence, but as an essential part of fulfilling your calling. Even Jesus, during his time of ministry, would withdraw from the crowds to pray and reconnect with his Father. These moments of solitude weren't acts of avoidance, but deliberate steps to stay spiritually grounded and focused on his mission. As a chosen leader, you are no different. Your time alone with God is where you recharge, realign, and receive the strength to continue leading with compassion and wisdom. It's not about stepping back permanently. It's about stepping aside momentarily to ensure you can step forward again, fully equipped. Moses' journey illustrates that leadership isn't just about outward actions. It's about maintaining a deep, personal connection with God. By seeking quiet moments with him, you allow space for his voice to speak clearly, his guidance to illuminate your path, and his strength to renew your spirit. Whether it's a literal space like Moses' tent of meeting, or simply a private moment of prayer and reflection, these times are sacred and essential. So, when you feel the weight of leadership, remember Moses. Remember that even the strongest leaders need time to step away, to reconnect with God, and to care for their own spiritual well-being. In these moments of solitude, you'll find not only renewal, but also the clarity and courage to fulfill the purpose God has placed upon your life. Embrace these moments, knowing they are a vital part of your journey as a chosen one. As a chosen one, finding quiet moments to align with God isn't just about recharging. It's about staying connected to the path He has laid out for you. In these sacred moments of solitude, you gain clarity, strength, and renewed purpose. But there's another aspect of your journey that may feel equally challenging yet deeply significant: the desire for meaningful, soul-deep connections. Superficial interactions and small talk often leave you feeling unfulfilled. While others might navigate social settings with ease, you crave relationships that go beyond the surface. Connections rooted in authenticity, shared values, and mutual understanding. This longing for deeper bonds is a reflection of your spiritual depth. You aren't content with casual relationships or fleeting conversations. Instead, you seek companionship that truly nourishes your soul. However, this quest for meaningful connections can sometimes feel isolating. In a world that often prioritizes quantity over quality, finding people who resonate with your spirit can feel like searching for a needle in a haystack. This may lead to moments of loneliness or frustration, especially when surrounded by people who don't seem to understand your journey. But don't let this discourage you. Your desire for depth and authenticity is a beautiful reflection of how God designed you. Consider the example of Jesus and his disciples. Out of the multitudes who followed him, Jesus chose a small group of 12 to be his closest companions. These relationships were not about numbers. They were about trust, shared purpose, and spiritual connection. Jesus didn't seek the largest crowd. He sought those who would truly walk alongside him, understand his mission, and support his calling. As a chosen one, you are on a similar path. It's not about the size of your circle, but the depth of your relationships. True, meaningful connections might take time to find, but they are worth the wait. When you do find those who truly understand your journey, these relationships will bring richness and depth to your life that far exceed anything superficial. They'll provide the companionship, support, and mutual growth that align with your spiritual walk. Still, the journey isn't without its challenges. Being misunderstood and feeling isolated is a common experience for chosen ones. Your perspective on life often differs from those around you. You might see things more deeply, feel more intensely, and prioritize your spiritual growth in ways others don't understand. This difference can sometimes lead to misunderstandings or feelings of being out of place. Yet, these experiences are part of your unique calling. Embrace them as reminders of the distinct path God has set before you. Your relationships, though few, will be profoundly meaningful, and your journey, though challenging, is divinely orchestrated. Stay patient, stay authentic, and trust that God will bring the right people into your life at the right time. Feeling misunderstood or isolated can often feel like living in a different reality from those around you. But here's the truth. Being misunderstood doesn't mean you're wrong or need to change to fit in. In fact, the very qualities that make you feel different are often the ones that make you uniquely equipped for your calling. Jesus himself experienced this. His teachings, his mission, and even his identity were often misunderstood by those around him. He faced rejection and isolation, but he never strayed from his purpose. He stayed true to the path God had set for him, even when it meant walking alone. As a chosen one, your journey might mirror this experience. It's not always easy to walk a different path, and it can hurt when others don't understand you. But remember, you're never truly alone. God understands you completely, your heart, your intentions, and your struggles. When isolation creeps in, don't let it lead you to doubt your calling. Instead, see it as a reminder that your journey is unique, one that not everyone is meant to understand. Embrace who you are and trust that God sees and values every step you take. The Bible offers powerful encouragement for those walking a path less traveled. In Matthew 7:13-14, Jesus says, "Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it." This verse beautifully captures the experience of being set apart. The path God calls you to walk is not the one most people choose. It's narrow and often solitary, but it leads to true life, purpose, and fulfillment. Throughout Scripture, we see examples of those who walked this narrow path: prophets, disciples, and Jesus himself. They stood apart from the crowd, faithfully following God's direction, even when it led to challenges and loneliness. Yet, their obedience was always met with God's faithfulness and reward. When you feel isolated, take comfort in knowing you're in good company. You're walking the same road as many of God's faithful servants before you. Though the path may be lonely at times, it's the one that leads to a life filled with God's presence and purpose. Trust in his plan, knowing that your journey, though challenging, is divinely guided and deeply meaningful. Solitude is often misunderstood in today's fast-paced world, where being constantly busy and surrounded by people is celebrated. But for chosen ones, solitude isn't a sign of loneliness. It's a sacred opportunity to connect deeply with God. In these quiet moments, away from the noise and distractions, you can reflect on your journey and find the peace that only God can provide. It's a gift, a time to step back, be still, and allow your spirit to be refreshed and renewed. Jesus himself understood the importance of solitude. The Gospels often mention how he withdrew to lonely places to pray. For Jesus, it wasn't about avoiding the crowds. It was about prioritizing his relationship with the Father. In those quiet moments, he found strength, guidance, and the peace needed to fulfill his mission. If even Jesus needed solitude to stay spiritually grounded, how much more do we? When you embrace solitude, you're not just taking a break. You're stepping into a sacred space where you can meet with God. It's in these moments of stillness that God speaks most clearly, not through the noise of the world, but through the gentle whispers to your heart. Solitude is where clarity, peace, and spiritual strength are found. It's not something to fear, but something to cherish. In these moments, you realign with God's purpose for your life and find the courage to continue on the path he's set before you. Solitude allows you to listen, reflect, and grow in ways that are deeply personal and transformative. While solitude is vital, it's also true that we're not meant to walk this journey entirely alone. As a chosen one, you may find it difficult to connect with just anyone. You're searching for something deeper, relationships that are authentic and rooted in faith. This is why finding the right community is so important. The right community isn't about being surrounded by many people. It's about being with the right people, those who truly understand your journey, share your values, and encourage you in your walk with God. Jesus chose just 12 disciples to be his closest companions, focusing on depth rather than numbers. Similarly, finding your community may take time, but it's worth the wait. Whether it's a small church group, an online community, or one or two close friends, seek relationships built on mutual respect, shared faith, and a desire to grow closer to God together. When you find this kind of community, it will bring a sense of belonging, encouragement, and strength that makes all the difference. Keep your heart open and trust God to guide you to the people who will walk this path with you. As a chosen one, finding the right people to walk alongside you is a significant part of your journey. These relationships are not accidental. They are gifts from God meant to support and strengthen you in fulfilling your calling. Pray for God's guidance in leading you to these connections, and when you find them, cherish them deeply. They are rare and invaluable, serving as a source of encouragement and companionship along your path. Life as a chosen one isn't always easy. The road can feel long, the burdens heavy, and the isolation overwhelming at times. Yet, in these moments, it's essential to remember that you are never truly alone. God is with you every step of the way. Proverbs 18:24 reminds us, "A man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother." This verse emphasizes the importance of meaningful relationships over the quantity of acquaintances. More importantly, it reminds us that God himself is that faithful friend who is closer than anyone else. No matter how isolated you may feel, his presence is constant and his love is unwavering. When the journey feels tough, lean into God's presence. Let him be your refuge, your source of strength, and your ever-present help in times of need. Hold tightly to the promise that God will never leave you nor forsake you. With him by your side, there is no challenge you cannot face. As we reflect on what we've discussed today, it's clear that your path, while unique, is filled with purpose and meaning. We've explored why chosen ones often feel the need for solitude, and how this isn't a weakness, but a sacred opportunity to connect deeply with God. We've looked at the challenges of heightened sensitivity, the burden of leadership, and the longing for meaningful connections. These are not flaws, but aspects of your spiritual makeup that make your journey special and impactful. We've also discussed how being misunderstood, though painful, is a sign of your unique calling. Walking a different path may set you apart, but it also sets you on a course that aligns with God's plan for your life. Most importantly, we've grounded these truths in the Word of God, reminding ourselves of his presence and his promises. Now, I encourage you to reflect on how you can apply these truths in your own life. Embrace solitude as a space for renewal, deepen your relationship with God, and seek out those connections that truly nourish your spirit. And if you found comfort or insight in these words, share them with someone who might need encouragement. You never know how a small act of sharing can make a significant difference in someone else's journey. Finally, I want to leave you with the comforting words of Isaiah 41:10. "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Let these words be your source of strength and reassurance. Remember, being chosen is not always easy, but it is a blessing. You are loved, guided, and never alone. Walk your path with faith, knowing that God is with you every step of the way.